He threw her ID on the floor. She quietly ended there. Multi-billion-dollar dream asterisk. The morning sun cast long shadows across the polished marble floor of Meridian Financial Tower. Victoria. Rivers adjusted her simple black blazer as she approached the reception desk, her leather portfolio tucked securely under her arm. The 28-year-old woman had deliberately chosen understated attire for today's meeting, knowing that her company's groundbreaking technology would speak louder than any designer outfit ever could. Behind the imposing granite counter sat Bradley Morrison, a man whose silver hair and expensive suit suggested decades of experience in high-stakes finance. His fingers drummed impatiently against the desk as he glanced at his Rolex. Clearly annoyed by what he perceived as another mundane appointment interrupting his day, Victoria approached with quiet confidence, her dark eyes reflecting the determination that had driven her from a small apartment in Detroit to the pinnacle of technological innovation. She had spent the last 3 years developing quantum computing algorithms that could revolutionize global finance. And today's meeting represented the culmination of her life's work. "Good morning, Mr. Morrison," Victoria said politely, extending her driver's license and business card. "I'm Victoria Rivers from Nexus Innovations. We have a scheduled appointment to discuss the quantum partnership proposal." Bradley barely glanced up from his computer screen, his expression immediately shifting to one of barely concealed disdain. He had expected to meet with some gray-haired executive, not this young woman who looked like she belonged in a college classroom rather than a boardroom discussing billion-dollar deals. Nexus Innovations? Bradley scoffed, finally looking at her identification. "Never heard of it. You sure you're in the right building? Maybe you're looking for the student loan office down the street." The reception area fell silent. Several other visitors stopped their conversations, sensing the tension that had suddenly filled the air. Victoria felt her cheeks flush with embarrassment, but she maintained her composure. Years of facing skepticism having taught her patience. "I assure you, Mr. Morrison, our appointment is confirmed for 10 o'clock. Perhaps you could check your calendar again?" Victoria's voice remained steady, though her grip tightened slightly on her portfolio. Bradley picked up her driver's license with theatrical disdain, holding it up to the light as if examining a counterfeit bill. His lips curled into a smirk as he made a show of studying every detail, his actions drawing curious stares from nearby employees and clients. "This looks suspicious to me," he announced loudly, his voice carrying across the marble lobby. "We get a lot of people trying to scam their way into meetings with fake credentials. Security." Without warning, Bradley let the ID card slip from his fingers. It clattered against the hard floor, sliding several feet across the polished surface, before coming to rest near a potted plant. The sound echoed through the lobby like a gunshot, and every person present turned to witness the humiliating scene. Victoria stood frozen for a moment, her heart pounding as she processed what had just happened. The disrespect was so blatant, so unnecessary, that it took her breath away. She had faced skepticism before, but never such deliberate cruelty in a professional setting. The lobby remained eerily quiet, with onlookers averting their eyes rather than acknowledging the obvious injustice unfolding before them. Some pulled out their phones, pretending to be absorbed in messages, while others suddenly found urgent business elsewhere in the building. Bradley crossed his arms, a satisfied smile playing across his lips as he watched Victoria's reaction. In his mind, he had successfully identified and dealt with what he assumed was an obvious fraud. He expected her to lose her composure, to react with anger or desperation that would validate his prejudgments. Instead, Victoria slowly walked over to where her ID lay on the floor. She bent down with deliberate grace, picking up the plastic card and examining it for damage. Her movements were measured and controlled, betraying none of the rage that burned within her chest. As she straightened up, Victoria's eyes met Bradley's with an intensity that made him shift uncomfortably. There was something in her gaze that suggested this moment would not be forgotten or forgiven. The young woman he had so carelessly dismissed was about to remind him why assumptions could be dangerous. "Mr. Morrison," Victoria said quietly, her voice carrying a weight that made everyone in the lobby lean forward to hear. "I hope you understand the consequences of what you just did." The tension in Meridian Financial Tower's lobby was thick enough to cut with a knife. Victoria Rivers stood motionless, her driver's license now safely back in her hand, while Bradley Morrison maintained his arrogant posture behind the reception desk. The man's confidence hadn't wavered despite the obvious discomfort of the witnesses around them. Consequences. Bradley laughed harshly, his voice echoing off the marble walls. The only consequence here is that you're wasting my time with whatever scheme you're running. Security should be here any minute to escort you out. Victoria reached into her portfolio with deliberate slowness, her fingers finding the folder. She had prepared specifically for this meeting. The documents inside represented months of preparation, countless hours of research, and the potential to reshape the global financial landscape. Before security arrives, Victoria said calmly, "Perhaps you should know exactly who you just insulted." She placed a single document on the granite counter between them. The letterhead at the top bore the logo of the Federal Reserve Bank, and the signature at the bottom belonged to Chairman Robert Fitzgerald himself. The document was a letter of recommendation, specifically endorsing Nexus Innovations' quantum computing technology for potential implementation in the national banking system. Bradley's smirk faltered as he read the first few lines. His eyes widened as he realized the implications of what he was seeing. This wasn't some college student or small-time entrepreneur. This was a document that could only have been obtained by someone with the highest levels of government clearance and technological expertise. "This is just the beginning," Victoria continued, her voice growing stronger with each word. "Perhaps you'd like to see the MIT doctoral thesis that revolutionized quantum encryption, or maybe the Department of Defense contract that's classified at the highest levels." She produced another document, this one bearing the seal of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. The title page read, "Quantum Algorithmic Solutions for Financial Market Prediction: A Revolutionary Approach to Economic Modeling by Dr. Victoria Rivers, Ph.D." The lobby had grown completely silent. Even the usual sounds of elevator bells and phone conversations seemed to have ceased as everyone strained to witness this unprecedented reversal of fortune. Bradley's face had gone pale as he realized the magnitude of his mistake. "You see, Mr. Morrison," Victoria continued, her tone now carrying an edge of steel, "Nexus Innovations isn't some startup trying to get a loan. We're here to offer Meridian Financial the opportunity to partner with us on a $2 billion quantum computing initiative that will transform how global markets operate." She placed a third document on the counter, this one stamped with the seal of the Securities and Exchange Commission. The heading read, "Approved for Implementation: Quantum Trading Systems for Major Financial Institutions." Bradley's hands trembled as he reached for the documents. His earlier confidence completely evaporated. The reception area buzzed with whispered conversations as word spread through the building about what was happening at the front desk. "The technology we've developed," Victoria explained, "can predict market fluctuations with 97% accuracy. It can prevent financial crashes before they happen and optimize trading strategies in ways that were previously impossible. The government has already approved its implementation, and we're selecting only 3 financial institutions worldwide to partner with us." She leaned forward slightly, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried more weight than any shout could have. "Meridian Financial was at the top of our list. Your reputation for innovation and forward-thinking leadership made you our preferred partner. $2 billion in guaranteed returns over the next 5 years, with exclusive access to technology that will make your competitors obsolete." Bradley's jaw dropped as the full impact of her words sank in. He had just thrown away the opportunity of a lifetime, all because of his prejudiced assumptions about a young woman who didn't fit his narrow definition of success. "Dr. Rivers," he stammered, his voice barely audible, I had no idea."
"Please."
"Let me call my supervisor. We can discuss this properly in the conference room." Victoria shook her head slowly, gathering her documents with the same deliberate care she had shown when picking up her ID from the floor. "I'm afraid that's no longer possible, Mr. Morrison. Your actions today have demonstrated that. Meridian Financial lacks the professionalism and vision required for this partnership." The color drained completely from Bradley's face as he realized what he had done. In his arrogance and prejudice, he had cost his company the deal of the century. The quantum computing partnership would now go to one of Meridian's competitors, along with the billions in revenue and the technological advantage. That would secure their future. "Please," Bradley whispered, "give me another chance. I made a mistake." Victoria paused at the lobby doors, turning back one final time. "Mr. Morrison, some mistakes are too costly to forgive. Today you learned that respect isn't something you can afford to withhold from anyone." The news of what had transpired in the lobby of Meridian Financial Towers spread through the building like wildfire. Within 30 minutes of Victoria Rivers' departure, the story had reached every floor, every department, and every executive who mattered. The quantum computing partnership that could have transformed their company had slipped through their fingers due to one man's prejudice and arrogance. Bradley. Morrison sat slumped in his chair, staring at the empty reception desk where the most important opportunity of his career had been lost. The documents Victoria had shown him were gone, but their implications burned in his memory. $2 billion in guaranteed returns, exclusive access to revolutionary technology, partnership with the most brilliant mind in quantum computing. Destroyed by his moment of cruel judgment, the elevator doors opened with a soft chime. And Thomas Blackstone, Meridian Financial's chief executive officer, stepped into the lobby. His expression was thunderous as he approached Bradley's desk, followed closely by several members of the executive board. Word of the catastrophic loss had reached the top floor within minutes. "Morrison," Thomas said, his voice cold and controlled. "My office." Now, Bradley's legs felt weak as he stood up, knowing that his career was effectively over. The walk to the elevator felt like a march to his execution. With every employee they passed staring at him with a mixture of shock and disgust, he had become the man who threw away billions because he couldn't see past his own prejudices. Meanwhile, across the city, Victoria Rivers sat in her modest office at Nexus Innovations, surrounded by quantum computers and advanced algorithms that represented the future of financial technology. Her small team of brilliant engineers and mathematicians looked up expectantly as she entered. Knowing that today's meeting would determine their company's direction, "How did it go?" asked Dr. James Chen, her lead quantum engineer and longtime collaborator. His expression was hopeful. Knowing how much this partnership meant to their research, Victoria set down her portfolio and looked around at the faces of her team brilliant minds who had worked tirelessly to develop technology that could revolutionize global finance. They deserved better than to be dismissed by small-minded executives who couldn't see past their own limitations. "Meridian Financial is no longer under consideration," she said simply. "We're moving forward with Goldman Sachs instead." The team exchanged glances, surprised by the sudden change. Goldman Sachs had been their second choice. But Victoria's tone suggested there was more to the story than a simple business decision. "What happened?" asked Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, their algorithms specialist. Victoria pulled up the Goldman Sachs proposal on her computer, her fingers moving swiftly across the keyboard. "Sometimes the universe has a way of showing us where we truly belong. Goldman Sachs appreciates innovation and treats partners with respect. That's exactly what we need." Within an hour, Victoria had initiated contact with Goldman Sachs' executive team. The response was immediate and enthusiastic. They had been hoping for an opportunity to discuss the quantum computing partnership, and Victoria's sudden availability created the perfect timing. Back at Meridian Financial, the consequences of Bradley's actions were becoming clear. The executive board had convened an emergency meeting, and the discussion centered entirely on the lost opportunity. $2 billion in guaranteed returns, exclusive access to quantum technology, in partnership with the most advanced financial algorithms ever developed, all gone because of one man's prejudice. Thomas Blackstone's voice carried through the conference room as he addressed the board. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have suffered the most costly mistake in our company's history. The quantum computing partnership that Dr. Rivers offered us would have secured our position as the world's leading financial institution for the next decade." Board member Patricia Williams leaned forward, her expression grave. "Thomas, how do we recover from this? Our competitors will have access to technology that makes our current systems obsolete." "We don't recover," Thomas replied grimly. "We've lost our chance at the future of finance." Goldman Sachs is already in discussions with Dr. Rivers' team. By next month, they'll have a technological advantage that we can't match. The room fell silent as the full implications sank in. Meridian Financial had built its reputation on innovation and forward-thinking leadership. Now they would watch from the sidelines as their competitors gained access to quantum computing technology that would revolutionize global markets. Bradley Morrison cleared out his desk that evening, his termination effective immediately. The security guard who escorted him from the building was the same one who had been called to remove Victoria Rivers just hours earlier. The irony wasn't lost on anyone who witnessed his departure. As Bradley walked through the lobby one final time, he passed the spot where Victoria's ID had fallen to the floor. The memory of that moment, the sound of plastic hitting marble, the shocked silence of the witnesses, the dignity with which she had retrieved her identification would haunt him. For years to come, 3 months had passed since the incident. At Meridian Financial Tower, and the business world was buzzing with news of the most revolutionary partnership in recent history. Goldman Sachs and Nexus Innovations had officially announced their quantum computing collaboration, sending shockwaves through the financial industry and establishing new standards for technological innovation. Victoria Rivers stood before a packed auditorium at the New York Stock Exchange, preparing to demonstrate the quantum trading system that would reshape global markets. Her presentation was being broadcast live to financial institutions worldwide, with millions watching as she prepared to reveal technology that seemed almost magical in its capabilities. Ladies and gentlemen, Victoria began, her voice carrying the quiet confidence that had become her trademark. Today we're not just launching a new trading system. We're introducing a new era of financial prediction and market stability. The massive screen behind her displayed real-time market data from around the world. But unlike traditional trading platforms, this system showed probability clouds and predictive algorithms that could forecast market movements with unprecedented accuracy. The quantum computers hummed quietly in the background, processing calculations that would take conventional systems years to complete. Dr. James Chen stood at the control panel, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that controlled the quantum algorithms. The team had worked tirelessly to perfect their system. Today would prove whether their technology could truly revolutionize global finance. The quantum prediction model you're about to see, Victoria continued, can analyze market patterns, global economic indicators, and human behavior patterns simultaneously. It processes information at speeds that were previously impossible, allowing us to predict market fluctuations before they occur. She gestured to the screen, where the system was already identifying potential market instabilities in Asian markets that wouldn't become apparent to traditional analysts for several hours. The predictions were displayed with confidence percentages, showing exactly how certain the system was about each forecast. Michael Thompson, Goldman Sachs Chief Technology Officer, watched from the front row with barely contained excitement. The partnership with Nexus Innovations had already generated more interest than any previous technological initiative in the company's history. Investment firms around the world were clamoring for access to the quantum technology. Dr. Rivers called out a reporter from the Financial Times. How accurate has the system been in preliminary testing? Victoria's smile was subtle but confident. Over the past 3 months of beta testing, our quantum algorithms have achieved a 97.3% accuracy rate in market predictions. We've successfully predicted and prevented 3 potential market crashes, saving our partner institutions an estimated $15 billion in losses. The auditorium erupted in excited conversations as the implications sank in. This wasn't just improved technology, it was a complete paradigm shift that could eliminate the uncertainty that had plagued financial markets for centuries. Meanwhile, across the city, the executives at Meridian Financial watched the presentation with growing despair. Their competitors were gaining access to technology that would make their own systems obsolete within months. The quantum computing partnership they had thrown away is now generating billions in revenue for Goldman Sachs. Victoria Rivers had kept her word. The consequences of his actions had been swift and absolute. In trying to diminish her, he had instead revealed his own inadequacy and cost his company its future. The young woman he had dismissed as irrelevant had quietly ended. their multi-billion-dollar dreams. With the same grace and determination that had made her one of the most brilliant minds of her generation, Thomas Blackstone sat in his office, watching the live stream with a mixture of admiration and regret. Victoria Rivers had become the most sought-after technology leader in the world, and her quantum algorithms were being hailed as the greatest advancement in financial technology history. "Sir," his assistant knocked on the door. "The board is requesting another emergency meeting. Our stock price has dropped 12% since the Goldman Sachs announcement." Thomas nodded grimly. Meridian Financial's reputation had suffered tremendously since word spread about how they had treated Dr. Rivers. The story of Bradley Morrison's prejudice and the lost partnership had become a cautionary tale throughout the financial industry. Back at the stock exchange, Victoria was demonstrating the system's ability to optimize trading strategies in real time. The quantum computers were processing millions of variables simultaneously, creating trading algorithms that adapted to market conditions faster than any human trader could react. "The beautiful thing about quantum computing," Victoria explained to her mesmerized audience, "is that it doesn't just calculate possibilities, it explores all possible outcomes simultaneously. This allows us to find optimal solutions that linear computing systems could never discover." Dr. Lisa Rodriguez stepped forward to demonstrate the system's risk assessment capabilities. The screen showed how the quantum algorithms could identify potential market manipulation, predict the impact of geopolitical events, and optimize investment portfolios in ways that seemed almost supernatural. "The system learns from every transaction, every market movement, every economic indicator," Dr. Rodriguez explained. "It's constantly evolving, constantly improving, constantly adapting to new patterns and possibilities." The presentation concluded with a demonstration of the system's ability to prevent market crashes. The quantum computers identified a potential cascading failure in European markets and automatically implemented protective measures that stabilized the situation before it could spread globally. As the applause died down, Victoria felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The humiliation she had endured at Meridian Financial had been transformed into triumph. Her technology was now protecting global markets and generating unprecedented profits for her partners. Dr. Rivers, another reporter, called out, "What's next for Nexus Innovations?" Victoria's eyes sparkled with the same determination that had driven her from a small apartment in Detroit to the pinnacle of technological innovation. "We're just getting started. Quantum computing will revolutionize not just finance, but every aspect of human civilization. We're going to change the world." The young woman who had been dismissed and humiliated had quietly ended one company's dreams while building something far greater. Her quantum algorithms were now the foundation for a new age of financial stability and prosperity, proving that brilliance and determination could overcome any prejudice. 1 year after the incident at Meridian Financial Tower, the financial world had been completely transformed. The quantum computing partnership between Goldman Sachs and Nexus Innovations had not only succeeded beyond all expectations, but had fundamentally changed how global markets operated. Victoria Rivers had become the most influential technology leader of her generation, and her innovations were being implemented by financial institutions worldwide. The annual Global Finance Summit was being held in Geneva, with representatives from every major financial institution in attendance. The keynote speaker was Dr. Victoria Rivers, who would be presenting the latest developments in quantum financial technology and announcing the next phase of her revolutionary work. Victoria stood at the podium, looking out at an audience that included the world's most powerful bankers, economists, and technology leaders. Her simple black dress and understated jewelry reflected the same quiet confidence that had characterized her throughout her remarkable journey. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "1 year ago, I was told that my ideas were too advanced, too risky, and too revolutionary for the conservative world of finance. Today, those same ideas are protecting trillions of dollars in global assets and preventing financial crises that could have devastated economies worldwide." The audience listened intently as Victoria detailed the success of the quantum systems. Market volatility had been reduced by 60%. Algorithmic trading had become exponentially more efficient. and the risk of cascading financial failures had been virtually eliminated. Dr. James Chen, the chief technology officer of Nexus Innovations, watched proudly from the front row. The company had grown from a small team of researchers to a global corporation with offices in 12 countries. Their quantum algorithms were now licensed to over 200 financial institutions worldwide. The quantum revolution, Victoria continued, has proven that innovation requires not just brilliant technology, but also the vision to recognize potential when it doesn't fit conventional expectations. In the audience, Michael Thompson from Goldman Sachs smiled at the subtle reference to the prejudice Victoria had faced. The partnership had made Goldman Sachs the most technologically advanced financial institution in the world, with profits that had exceeded all projections. Meanwhile, in New York City, the former Meridian Financial Tower was being converted into luxury condominiums. The company had filed for bankruptcy 6 months earlier, unable to compete with institutions that had access to quantum computing technology. Thomas Blackstone had resigned in disgrace, and the building that had once housed one of the world's most prestigious financial firms now stood as a monument to the cost of prejudice and closed-mindedness. Bradley Morrison had struggled to find employment after his termination, his reputation in the financial industry permanently damaged. The story of his treatment of Dr. Rivers had become a case study in business schools worldwide, used to teach the importance of respect and open-mindedness in professional settings. Victoria's presentation continued with an announcement that sent ripples of excitement through the audience. Today, I'm proud to announce the launch of the Quantum Education Initiative, a program designed to ensure that brilliant minds from all backgrounds have access to advanced technological education. The initiative, funded by the profits from the quantum computing partnerships, would provide scholarships and research opportunities to students who might otherwise be overlooked by traditional institutions. Victoria's own experience had taught her the importance of recognizing potential wherever it might be found. We're also launching the Global Market Stability Protocol, Victoria announced, a quantum system that will monitor financial markets worldwide and automatically prevent crashes before they can occur. This technology will be made available to all nations regardless of their economic status. The audience erupted in applause as the implications became clear. Victoria wasn't just creating profitable technology, she was using her success to build a more stable and equitable global financial system. As the summit concluded, Victoria was approached by dozens of world leaders, technology executives, and financial innovators. Everyone wanted to partner with the woman who would revolutionize global finance through the power of quantum computing, Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, the director of research at Nexus Innovations, joined Victoria as they walked through the conference center. "Do you ever think about what might have happened if Meridian Financial had treated you differently?" she asked. Victoria considered the question carefully. "I think about it sometimes, but I realize that everything happened exactly as it should have. The prejudice I faced revealed the true character of people and institutions. It showed me who deserved to be part of the quantum revolution and who didn't." That evening, Victoria stood on the balcony of her hotel room, looking out at the lights of Geneva. She thought about the young woman who had walked into Meridian Financial Tower with nothing but brilliant ideas and unwavering determination. The humiliation she had endured had been transformed into triumph, and her quiet response to prejudice had changed the world. The quantum algorithms that had started as a response to dismissal and disrespect were now protecting global financial stability. The technology that had been rejected by one arrogant executive was now being used by hundreds of institutions worldwide. The woman who had been told she wasn't worth listening to had become the most influential voice in modern finance. Victoria Rivers had proven that brilliance and determination could overcome any obstacle. That innovation required not just advanced technology, but also the wisdom to recognize potential in unexpected places. Her story had become an inspiration to countless young innovators who faced skepticism and prejudice in their own journeys. The ID card that had been thrown to the floor in contempt had belonged to the woman who would quietly end one company's dreams while building a better future for the entire world. In the end, respect wasn't something that could be withheld. It was something that had to be earned through actions, achievements, and the courage to stand up for what was right. The quantum revolution was just beginning, and Victoria Rivers stood at its center, ready to transform not just finance, but the very foundations of human civilization.